Are live. Eric Butler. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, uopod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I gotta vote for Trump, dude.
It's great here. A lot of fat chicks and a lot of screaming.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate.
We are live. We are live. This is real life. Bryson Grave was had a song banned from Spotify. The song about Eminem, Eric, ironically, where he talks about Eminem songs don't get banned, but mine do, and his gets suspended. How are you?
Well, it's 113 degrees already.
Really? Actually?
Okay, no, not 113, but it's above 100, and that's a little bit more than I'd like. We haven't
That's
even
insane.
hit May just yet. So yeah, I'm getting mentally prepared to melt for the next 4 months.
It's still cold here.
Yeah, well, I was just watching the old videos of me in Toronto, and that little what is it called? I compare it to Times Square.
Young and Dundas Square.
Young and Dundas. Yeah, I get hot just watching it. Like me wearing a hoodie and a flannel. I'm like, I actually kind of miss it. Like, I like the flannel. I like the hoodie. I like the fall. That's I think why I was drawn to New York partly. And this where it's just like they say, it's a dry heat, but it's still hot AF, bro.
Makes you look Canadian, at least. That video will be coming out Tuesday for all those inquiring. The first video of Eric and I in Toronto dropping Tuesday morning. And I just got an email that another one of the videos is done by mystery camera person. Y, maybe Z.
Carbon-based camera person.
That's good. Saw a person that looks just like them in the coffee shop this morning. Wasn't them, but the mystery only grows. So we'll have that coming out Tuesday. We'll have probably one for the next few following weeks, and then we got some skits coming out too. I just went and met up with some comedians called the Danger Cats over the weekend. Alberta comedians. They're really funny. Did some stuff with them. Recorded a podcast, and then we realized at the end that two of the mics weren't on. So we're hoping that worked out, but at the very least, there's some content.
Classic. Do they have a studio or what? You went to them?
No,
went to where they?
I went to them because they're on tour in Ontario, and they rented a house. I think that's what happened. I went to a house that they were all staying in for their tour. Very expensive no matter where you go in this province. It was really lame in that sense. But nice guys, so much more fun than I knew that I could have expected. So shout out to the Danger Cats. Shout out to Pharrell Williams, everybody, who is, I think, Eric, this was at some sort of Grammy-related event. Pharrell Williams spoke about, basically, as you're going to see, it was government gives musicians and entertainers money, they throw party, and then talk about how great government is. Let's take a look-see. So Pharrell Williams says it's all about rights as he's honored at Grammys on the
It's just
Hill.
all about rights. And we need more of those. Tonight's rights are about the creators. We got to think about LGBTQIA. We got to think about women's rights. So anytime that, the government actually leans in with a fair lens to look at a marginalized community, a community that is often taken for granted. I mean, you name it, we have an array of it in this country, a myriad of groups that get discriminated against, and oftentimes they lose their rights. Anytime the government will lean in the way that they're leaning in tonight, it's a beautiful thing. We need more of that. I want them to lean into women's rights the way that they're leaning into the rights of the creators.
But also we believe that music is a potent diplomatic tool. Soft power is more important than hard power. So we're here to celebrate that music can be a catalyst for social change. Music can be an education tool. I learned English listening to songs. So music is a lot more than just a form of entertainment. That's why we're here.
No idea who that guy was. So I just want to point out here.
The Balenciaga sweater there.
Of course. But you look at these artists, and basically, so this is an event. Behind Pharrell is City National Bank and RBC companies. You got the banks, you've got the Hollywood Academy, or the Grammy version of that. And they're basically saying they're the government supporting artists because this is titled, this video from Reuters, of course, as Chuck Schumer and Pharrell Williams came out in support of the Grammys on the Hill, whatever that is. So the Democrats are giving them money, which of course everybody always means by support is give money. And in exchange, Pharrell will come out and say complete nonsense. I mean, what did he say, Eric? The LGBTQI rights and women's rights and the rights of artists, or artists are such a marginalized group. So you give us money, we give you talking points. Am I understanding this correctly, do you think?
Look, I don't know what this is supposed to mean, bro. Pharrell and that other unknown guy, some empty suit. It was complete word salad. It wasn't as bad as Kamala Harris, but Pharrell standing there. Oh, we need to lean in. We need to lean into the rights, the marginalized groups. It's all just buzzwords. It's complete nonsense, and this is very disappointing, bro. Because I think we can all remember a time before politics took over everything, right? You had kids, in eighth grade, seventh grade, or whatever, pounding on the table, pretending to do the grinding beat, right? The Clips, Pusha T, these were all very, very well respected non-political entities. And now you have Chuck Schumer and Pharrell. Clearly he got the talking points. And one of the talking points is make sure that whatever you say doesn't make any sense. Just give them word salad and we're gonna pretend that it's smart stuff. And it's sad, bro, because look, bro, Pharrell has been a super producer, as they say, in more than just hip hop, right? He produced Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and all sorts of stuff, I believe. So why does he need to do this? That's my question. It's very similar to what we see with Bud Light and Nike and all this stuff, because he knows that money isn't really the bottom line. So when those companies are out and they're slapping half of their customers in the face, they realize that it's more beneficial for them to be in line with the agenda than to work on your craft and continue to make money that legit way. It's pretty despicable, really.
Here's the explanation for it. It's from Billboard. I'll blow that up a little bit, and it's going to be as bad as you think, as you can probably imagine. Grammys
Oh,
on the
so this
Hill
is okay. So that video was from Reuters, but this is a different article explaining it.
this is a
via
Billboard article
Okay.
explaining what it is. Grammys on the Hill is a celebration like no other, spotlighting music's unifying power as we bring together our nation's leaders with some of the most renowned artists in the world.
Okay,
So
wait.
a
I'm
party.
sorry. Hang on. Music unifying powers. Meanwhile, they're the same people that are kicking rappers like Bryson off of Spotify.
Correct. This
Okay.
year's edition will also honor Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Bill Cassidy, a Republican from Louisiana. The event sponsored by City National Bank and benefits the Grammy Museum. So a bank is putting on a party for two politicians to give money to the Music Academy's museum, and says it's a privilege to honor Pharrell alongside Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Cassidy, all of whom have fought tirelessly for a pro music policy that protects the creatives that make up our community. Anytime, Eric, you've got a celebrity backed thing celebrating a politician, you know something's wrong. I don't care who it is. If you've got Nickelodeon celebrating Mitt Romney, there's a problem there, a huge problem. Even if it was Trump, and by problem I mean they're giving them money. I mean, if the National Basketball Association honors Donald Trump by throwing him a party when he's not the president, I can understand they want to touch elbows when somebody's the president. We're throwing a president's ball or something. That's for all of them to come together. That makes it more clear what's going on there. But when Billboard, when the Grammys have a party honoring Chuck Schumer and this guy I haven't heard of, this Republican from Louisiana, what's actually going on there? It's sponsored by a bank, and Pharrell wants you to believe that it's this is for people's rights. We're celebrating two politicians. Like, it's their job to support people, is it not? Now we have to throw a party for politicians when they do something right, allegedly. There's a picture of Pharrell. He's featured. He's one of the podcast members right now. Let's see if there's anything else.
What
Important that
rights
we
is
show
he
up and
talking
support
about?
each other.
I'm sorry. If we were to follow up, if there were any semblance of real journalism in the building, and one person would just follow up with like, which rights are you discussing, Pharrell?
Yeah.
There would be crickets.
Championed key policies and support in support of music makers, including co-sponsoring the Save Our Stages Act, which is included in the bipartisan COVID relief. Okay, so they get that confirms it. I'm a damn oracle. Don't tell me how I know this. It's just the words they use, people. When they use words like support, when it sounds too good to be true, it is. So basically, they gave the money in the COVID relief package. Excuse me. And they're thanking them for them now. This bank, somebody convinced somebody at the bank to make themselves look good. It's also sad and predictable, and I just wish, like you said, Eric, that somebody would just be like, Mr. Williams, what rights are you referring to? Mr. Williams, how much money did the COVID relief package give, or whoever the representative is? In this case, it would be for this Grammys on the Hill thing. How much money did you guys get for this, and what did it go to? Those are real questions, but no, there's some marginalized people. Art is like, in their mind, they wouldn't even, in their own viewpoint. Are you saying that artists are just as marginalized as, LGBT plus minus cosine? Cosine? What are they called?
Tangent, cosine, I don't know.
Yeah, cosine tan.
I'm too old to remember any of that stuff.
Would they say in their own viewpoint, Eric, that rappers like Pharrell, who's filthy rich, are as marginalized as alphabet people, or even women? When are we talking about? Are we talking about women's rights again? Because we know what they mean when they say women's rights. When I say women's rights, I actually mean like their rights, like their God-given or natural rights, however you want to pursue that. They're talking about abortion and abortion only, and abortion pills. Those are the only things they're talking about, because there's no other rights that they don't get. Maybe they might be talking about the wage gap, but that gets debunked every 3 months. So we know what they're talking about, but they can't even say that. They can't even say, and like, to your credit, Eric, their own comments always conflict one another. And in this case, that's painfully obvious when he says, artists' rights versus LGBTQIA rights. I don't know what I stands for. Indigenous.
Intersex. Actually, it could be.
What's A stand for? Asexual?
I believe it does, actually. Yeah.
I love the thing people are pointing out now, that how can there be non-binary when there's a bisexual category? That doesn't make any sense. You're only the bisexuals are actually just choosing between any two given. Let's move on. Pharrell makes me angry.
It's pathetic.
Danny Mullen and Leo DiTavio, two of our favorites. I talk to Leo on a semi-occasional basis. I don't know, when you're checking off like something and it says like always, sometimes, occasional, biannual. I told Leo, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I'm like, you guys are gonna get stabbed or something soon, and he's like, we're taking safety into consideration. They were in the LA's.
Sorry,
what was that?
There is
a dog.
One of these hot rod cars driving around outside my building.
We get that a lot here too. Just trying to find the volume here. So they went into LA's Underground into their subway system, which I didn't know they had. I had heard of San Francisco having one, I think, but I didn't know LA had a rail system. And this video is just so many things in once. Of course, these guys aren't coming out there doing political videos, but what they're touching on is inherently political in the sense that there's tons of homeless people down there, and they're actually able to secure fentanyl from a guy, and that's what we're going to see. And then there's another guy smoking cracker fentanyl in the background at one point, and then they get attacked by two different people, and there's such a lack of cops. One of the homeless people says that there's an area that the cops don't even go into because it smells of feces and urine so badly. And on top of that, Eric, there's also a group of volunteers, which was obviously one of these LA programs, California programs, where it's like, we don't need cops. We just need, volunteers. And on the back of their vest, it says, observe, report, and contact, or something like that. We can see it later. But this is them procuring what appears to be fentanyl from somebody. Go ahead.
So as I understand it, I'm not from Los Angeles. I've been there numerous times, right? It's in California. And for years, the Los Angeles public transit system, was a running joke. People even still to this day, I believe more people use it in the Bay Area, right? Los Angeles. You can say more than a decade ago, this was just a haven for junkies. So they haven't made. This isn't new, I guess, but it's obviously getting worse. And I think they also touch on, which I don't think you mentioned, how they are trying to
Classical music.
the classical music, which then somebody started complaining about that because that was inhumane. It's just there is no, and this is proof positive as far as I'm concerned, that nobody ever actually wants to solve any of these problems, right? Because as soon as you solve a problem, you don't have a wedge to ask for money. You don't have a platform to say you're going to fix anything. So there's no way anybody ever wants to do that. So they're just going to let it devolve into absolute nothingness until, it's as I understand, I've never taken the Los Angeles Underground, but the point is it's been devolving for decades now, and nobody, Republican, Democrat, otherwise, is going to even attempt to fix the problem. Yeah, they play some classical music, and then the people say, it's circling the drain right now. So I guess let's go ahead and watch it.
Yeah, that's why they're dressed as classical music, and that's why Leo's got the violin there, because there's some sort of 20% decrease, but then they're just like, this is also inhumane for whatever reason.
Oh yes, give him a taste of Wagner's Nocturne. You giving it to him, Leandro?
Oh, I'm going to give it to him.
Yep. You can film. You can film. Lucky you. It's the one upside to this encounter. Usually tickets are $150 for nosebleeds to see this guy play. You a fentanyl mule? Open up this trunk.
I would actually purchase some off of you if you do have some.
We're actually trying to buy.
Guy pretending to be deaf
We're trying to buy.
now.
Trying to
Wait, is that real sign land?
So they're going back and forth in sign language for the audio listeners. Asking for drugs, essentially.
So the guy couldn't actually hear the violin the whole time. He's actually deaf. Is that what we're understanding?
I don't think he's actually deaf. He says something.
20? Oh, here's my 20. 20.
There it is.
Come on, man. How much?
How much?
This better be some fire shit. This better be that Mac Daddy smackaroonie.
Oh, God.
Come on. Oh, come on, dude. Did I insult you? 25 bucks? Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Here, I'm leaving 20 right here.
20 right there. Look,
20 right there. This is how you do it. This is how you buy drugs on the
They
street.
put a 20 on the ground.
You
next
act
to
like
the
you don't know
guy.
what's going on. Leave the money over there. Hey,
There we go.
everybody.
Okay. Danny.
This is not a transaction for fentanyl.
Okay.
On the ground. Come on, dude. You know how we do this. On the ground.
On the ground. Right next to the 20. There. See that?
Leave it and whistle a tune as you walk.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's how you do it,
The
Leo.
guy throws
That's how it
it.
works
Okay,
on the
we got it.
streets.
Thank
That's
you.
how it works on the streets.
We got it right there, dude.
Yeah,
they
20?
the security guards start coming. They go on to say that it looked like what's the fake weed called? I forget what it's called.
Spice or
Yeah, something like that. They say it's
K2
synthetic
or something?
marijuana. But the fact that you can just procure a drug deal in the middle of the subway and nobody cares is a sign, I think, of the time in Los Angeles. I'll skip through it a couple portions there to find the people I was
This does
talking
remind
about.
me. Do you remember? This was an older video from a couple years ago, I believe, when Jorge Ventura was in San Francisco and procured a $10 bag of fentanyl or something. This was a handful of years ago. It's easy.
These are the people. What does that say on the back of their
Metro Ambassador, I believe.
Yeah.
And this, can I just say, this too, I believe to be another. Look, I don't want to call it money laundering. I can't prove
Oh
that.
no, I know I thought the exact same thing, Eric. It's a government program where they gave money to the metro system because they want to be anti-cop while at the same time saying they're doing something. So what do these people have? They probably have some Narcan in these backpacks, a whistle and a phone or something, and a flashlight.
And
And
a
it says
pair of gloves
contact
or something.
report. Yeah, they're giving out love essentially, and clearly that's probably like a $200 million program. Let's see if we can find. I'll look
And
if I
wait,
can find that.
before you, there was another video. I should have sent it to you. Darn it, I forgot. But there's another video of this very same community outreach nonsense in San Francisco. Or don't quote me. It's in the Bay Area. I don't know exactly what city, but in the San Francisco Bay Area, where they're standing there watching. There's two of these like community ambassadors standing there watching a guy like destroy a parked car, and they obviously can't do anything. They're unarmed, right? Because it would be super dangerous for them to have a gun, which is probably true because I think most of them are just recovering dope fiends anyways. But these these community activists or whatever, they're clearly like a lot of them come out of like these rehab centers and stuff maybe. But then there's another catch 22 because in San Francisco, it's going to be much easier for you to, sorry, I keep talking about San Francisco when this is clearly about LA, but they're really not that different. It's going to be much more difficult for you to find a NA or a rehab facility than it would be for you to go down and get a box of clean needles. So this is all complete stuff, bro.
All right, so here's what it is. Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transportation Authority celebrated the official launch of its Metro Ambassador pilot program Monday, deploying nearly 300 ambassadors throughout the metro and bus rail system. And this was so this is recent. This was a month and a half ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Crime on metro and train buses has steadily increased. According to the Transportation Authority, violent crime, rape, assault, robbery, and murder went up 24% in the past 2 years. In 2022, and I think this was in the video, 21 people died while riding Metro lines.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's complete insanity. The numbers
Danny
already matched that within the first 3 months of 2023.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. Because I only watched the beginning of the video when Danny was like, I guess he was it this article specifically that he was reading? I don't even know.
It might have been.
Yeah, because he said, 2 years ago, 21 people died, and then 21 people already died in the first. It's absolute insanity.
So they're on pace for a good like 90 or so. Listen to this though. It says the ambassadors are specially trained in customer service and experience. Who cares? Conflict de-escalation. Yeah, right. Public safety awareness. Meaningless. Emergency preparedness. Meaningless. Trauma-informed response. Meaningless. Disability awareness. Meaningless. Transit operations. Somewhat useful, among other things.
Do you think any of those people know how to... They don't know how to operate the transit system? Give me a break. Do we really think for one split second...
I meant by transit operations, like what time the train... Where the buses go, where you go to get the bus and everything. That's what I took that as. But... conflict de-escalation. You think a crackhead comes up with a shiv? These people are doing anything but running away. To be clear, ambassadors are not security officers. See, that's their so what are they going to do? They're not replacing existing security staff or law enforcement. Their role is more nuanced. The role is to do nothing. I want to know. This is what I usually do in articles like this, Eric. I do a good Control F and I do $sign. So there isn't one. So they're not going to tell you how much it costs.
It sounds to me like these ambassadors or whatever are just kind of like patsies, bro. They're just volunteering to be put in more danger, right? You're already in danger if
paying work.
Yeah. So if you're riding the Los Angeles Metro, you're going to be, it's probably a bit unsafe. So now you have presumably you have nothing to protect yourself with. So you're getting paid possibly minimum wage to put yourself in harm's way because that's better than trying to hire a couple more cops. And this also is coming at the same time as Gavin Newsom is claiming he wants to deploy the National Guard again in San Francisco to stop fentanyl, which looks like the whole, the state should probably just float off into the Pacific and start over.
I can do you better than that last article, Eric. I can one-up that last article with the explanation for this. This is from LAStreetsblog.org. Metro officially launches 300-strong transit ambassadors program. Here's their justification. They approved a pilot program, which we already mentioned, as part of the agency's effort to reimagine public safety after the killing of George Floyd by police in Minneapolis in 2020. So George Floyd, Minneapolis means LA needs change and more funding for this. The funding is used for the pilot was in addition to, not in place of, commitments to law enforcement. We'll go ahead and do our search for the dollar sign again. We have one, and it's from a different article. So, oh wait, police and contract. That's actually the police getting $150 million a year. Yeah, we don't have anything about how much it cost in here, I'd imagine. I'll look again, Eric. I'll look again.
Well, you did the Control F, right? It would have to be in there, no?
I'll look again from a different article. I mean, what do we have next? We have a comedian. Oh, we have another video. Maybe we can go to that. Let me see what that one was. No, we can save that if we have time. But we have comedian Ben Bankus, who is a quote unquote friend of the show, who's running for mayor of Toronto, by the way, if you didn't know. He got a, there's a lot of.
Are you introducing him? Is he on the show right now?
No, he's not on the show.
Oh,
I'm saying we've got some news from him, and that
Okay.
is that he had a tweet deleted from Twitter. That's the wrong thing, of course. And everybody's kissing Elon's ass lately. But of course, being mean on Twitter is still not allowed. He had a tweet removed for hateful conduct because he called somebody a female cat. Just some random guy, sup, PU, dollars, $, $Y. And that's it. And
Is this
they
from
say you
his
got to delete
website or
that.
something? Did he post that again to Twitter, or so? Where does?
This is from his Patreon. I am a Patreon subscriber to Ben
Okay.
Bankus.
Okay. All right. I got you.
And so he deleted it, and I just wanted to show some of the recent stuff Ben Bankus has been up to, because it's really funny, his Toronto mayoral campaign.
Do you wake up every day sad, depressed, lonely, confused, poor, worried about how you're going to feed your family, feed yourself? That's why I am going to stand up for trans rights on the campus of the University of Toronto. Step one, we are going to be making Jordan Peterson illegal. That means we're going to be doing weekly book burnings of Jordan Peterson's 12 rules, and we are also going to be banning him from the city. This will make people feel safe. We'll also be banning anybody who's ever been on the Joe Rogan podcast. So that means that Ryan Long will be banned from the city of Toronto, as will Gad Sad. That's right, Gad. Stay in Montreal. We don't want you here because we are an open and accepting city. This is native land.
Eric Butler, the Toronto. Let me tell you something about the mayoral candidacies of Toronto's election here. It's next month, I believe. Well, we're almost May. It's in June 20 something. And the candidates are as followed: Ben Bankus, I believe officially registered, can't confirm. Chris Sky, who is also known as Anti-Lockdown Bro, made famous from my interview, I'll say. You also have a newspaper columnist from the Toronto Sun, which is Canada's most popular right-leaning newspaper. A little bit, establishment, but whatever. Then you have a bunch of people nobody's ever heard of, a guy who runs for mayor all the time and loses. Then you have a leftist woman named Olivia Chow, who was married to a guy who is he's deceased, rest in peace, a popular far-left politician for the NDP, as I've compared them to the Squad in the United States, like progressives. She is his widow, and she's running for mayor. When she was in office, she was part of, I think it was the Police City Council. I'll double check this as we're speaking, but she had public office. It was maybe a school board trustee. She was living in government housing for like 5 years as a member of public office. Then she became one of the police board trustees, I believe, or on the police board. Semantics here of what the title was. Another public position. And she had to resign from that for trying to influence the policing on a riot. So she tried to tell the police how to conduct their policing on a riot. You can imagine in which direction she wanted that to go. And these are the candidates for the mayor of Toronto since the former mayor had to step down because, he got caught in an affair. And this wasn't even counting the video he had with a drag queen touching. You look that up for yourself. Don't want to get sued here. But this is the city of Toronto, Eric. I mean, people used to make fun of it when it had the crackhead mayor.
Yeah.
Again, rest in peace, Rob Ford. He was the best. Doug Ford sucks, though. And then John Tory was the mayor for so long, and he had to step down. And these are the candidates. And then, the local news, which you might have gotten a taste of when you were here, talks about how great this woman was because she's far left, and claims she's leading in the polls. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, so few people vote that it's just whoever's name you recognize is leading the polls. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, how does it I mean, excuse me. It sounds like everybody in this, we see it in New York too. Their heels are so dug in. Whoever is controlling, because look, I think we can agree that there's likely a similar driving force behind the American politicians and Canadian politicians, right? The UK,
Yeah, it's pretty
Australia,
just left wing.
yeah, all over the place. But their heels are so dug in that nobody is going to come out and stop it. There's even RFK, right? Now, I do feel like maybe this is a little bit off topic here, but recently has come out against climate extremism after that clip went viral. Neither here nor there. The point is, their heels are so dug in, nobody's going to say, all right, you know what? Because their plan, like we always discuss, is not to fix anything. It's to make it, to continue the managed decline. So nobody is going to say, "Hey, you know what? I have some, left of center policies. I have some left of center views and values, but some of this has gone a little bit too far. Let's come to the middle." That's never going to happen. Everything has been is so extreme now that nobody, as soon as you try to pump the brakes a little bit, like say a Tulsi Gabbard or maybe even Andrew Yang, depending on who you ask, they're going to smear you as a Russian, a right wing, a fascist, this, that, and the other. So there's going to be nobody who's going to say, all right, maybe we went a little bit too far. And that again is proof that they never planned, they never want to help anything. And it's just it's pretty despicable. And that's what happened with Andrew Cuomo in New York, right? So as much as I can't stand Andrew Cuomo and basically, credit him for ruining my life, they only brought in someone who's more extreme. They brought in Fimbot Cuomo, who walked around in a vax necklace claiming that she was the messiah of pharmaceuticals and that she went to churches telling people to be her disciples. Same thing with de Blasio, who was a complete rat, and his wife stole $80 million for who couldn't show any receipts for some mental health organization they had lined up. And then they put in Eric Adams, who's arguably worse than de Blasio. So, I mean, there is no middle ground. They're going to have to go they're going to have to hit rock bottom. And I'd say we're pretty darn close to rock bottom. And maybe the pendulum will swing, maybe it'll bounce back. But I wanted to ask you, and I've asked you this before, and you know where I stand on American politics, and I don't know if your views have changed from the last time I've posed this question, but is it real? Are most people in Toronto going to cast a ballot for the weirdo leftists and think it's a good idea, or is it all completely, is their thumb on the scale like we have in Arizona, like we have all over the place? Gavin Newsom, during his recall, this guy's caught sleeping, and I guess it's anecdotal, but this guy's caught sleeping in his car with a couple hundred ballots, pills, guns, and everybody's just pretending like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. It's all on the level. Everybody loves Gavin Newsom. Well, if everybody loved Gavin Newsom, then there would be no recall in the first place. So I guess to round it out, is this real? Can this be trusted, or is it just a machine-driven hoax?
Well, I think what happens in an election like Toronto is that so few people vote. What they have is they get out a strong voting block of people, and they identify them and they pressure them to vote. And of course, it's usually probably I know that's a bad thing to say, but it's probably a block of teachers unions and city workers and stuff like that. So I think they know where to target exactly, and they go out and reach out to those people, and then they really push it to the inner city leftists who go to voting. And what they push to them is, you vote for somebody other than, a hardcore leftist, and, anti-gay stuff's going to happen. Forget about crime. Nobody cares about that. Access to abortion clinics is going to change. The transit system is going to get even worse somehow. You really don't have to say much to these people. And by these people, I mean people who vote for hardcore left-wing entities. And I'm not saying you have to vote for Republicans. But I think it's undoubtedly true that at this point in time, anyone who labels themselves as progressive doesn't accomplish anything. And you really don't have to say much to the people who are looking to vote for that. You say marginalized community, you say possibly defunding the police for community policing, depending on where you live, and you say LGBTQ rights and women's rights and trans rights. And if you just pretend like these people have rights taken away, which they do not, because, hormones for kids isn't a right, abortions aren't rights, stuff like that, then you can scare them into voting for their lives, whether you
So it's
believe it
just
to be true or not.
So it's just low IQ people, and it's real. Because I'm just so jaded. Like, dude, I drove all around the country in 2020, and like, you don't even here in Arizona, you don't see for every one Biden sticker or something, you'll see. I'm not exaggerating, 10 to 12. Let's go Brandon stickers. I haven't seen one, not one in my time here. Have I seen one Katie Hobbs sticker or one Katie Hobbs flag, but you see Carrie Lake all over the place. So I'm just not convinced that, and I know that social media is not real, but during the gubernatorial race here in Arizona, Carrie Lake had 400,000 followers, over 1 million across platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, more than 1 million supporters or more than 1 million followers. And sure, some of those people might have been hate following and whatever, keep your enemies closer. But Katie Hobbs had 4,000, bro. Katie Hobbs had less followers than you or I on Instagram, and she somehow won over the entire state. I'm not buying it right now. Like, and shout out James Klug. He put out a video. I don't know, it was yesterday, today, a couple days ago. I watched it today. Neither here nor there. In deep blue Hollywood in Los Angeles, California, of grade Joe Biden. And I want to say like 9 out of 10 people, maybe 8 out of 10 people were giving him an F. And we're talking about older folks, we're talking about veterans, we're talking about younger kids who were like, no. And Los Angeles, not in South Dakota, not in Arkansas, not in, I was gonna say Vermont, but I think they're pretty blue. That's Bernie's place, right? Not West Virginia. These are people in Los Angeles, young kids smoking joints on the street with dreadlocks, talking about I give Joe Biden an F. But somehow they're going to continue to tell us that everybody likes Joe Biden, and he's probably going to get reelected because it's not real.
Well, if there was some sort of theory or anything up here to suggest otherwise, I'd obviously be open to it. It's hard because a lot of the people that they bring in the large voting blocks here, whether they're from India or China, most of them, they don't like to rock the boat at all when they come in. And there is an used to work a couple of years ago now, and sorry, there's an Indian woman I used to work with a couple of years ago who said that their community doesn't like to go against anything, just because he brought us here. That's basically what she described it as to me. Where you run into trouble is when you bring in people, for them, I mean, is when you bring people in from countries that that came here voluntarily, and they weren't doing so for desperate means. I mean, people come from India because it's very poor and dirty, and they come here and there's job opportunities, and
you can't say that.
I have family members who've been to India, said people were literally throwing garbage out of their windows, so I'll say it. And in a nice area, in what's considered to be a nice area, lots of them here, very little, but it appears that they're thankful to be here, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you run into people from, I would say, Iran, what other places, Lebanon, those people, when they're here, they're not coming here because they're desperate. They're coming here because they see a great opportunity to make more money and to be business people. And those people don't fall in line as easily. They don't have as much problem with rocking the boat. And you would see the same thing if you had if for some reason people from Texas were coming here, right? If maybe a Texas person or Arizona or Florida person came here for business reasons. They're not just going to vote for whomever let them come there because, they don't see it as much of a gift. That's what I'm trying to say here. And that's what I think happens. And they know that, and they target certain areas with that, with where they target the immigration. The immigration itself is the problem because they pour all these people into the same spot. Like let's use a place where people won't try to desperately call it racist. Let's say you got a bunch of Swedish people, Danish people. You put them all in the pocket, their own pocket. They're probably going to vote for the same thing they vote for in Scandinavia, which is very high taxes for social programs. You're going to be able to pass something that's like 50% income tax or more on the lower bracket with them. It's moronic. You bring people into a country and they just act all the same way as in the country that they left. And what do you expect to change? Nothing. That's why, Eric, you got to put them in the Arctic, whether it's Australians, Chinese, India, Americans. Send people to the Arctic. We need people in the Arctic Circle. Build that up for us, and then we'll see who you vote for.
Can I say I also have another question about this, which I think should be pretty obvious, right? But we constantly hear, and I think I mentioned this last week, that the division tool of Rona and the division tool of paperwork and masking is kind of going by the wayside. So they're going to go back to the old trusty, everything is racist thing, right? But how are some people not able to see that we're constantly being sold this idea of institutionalized racism and systemic racism? And I mean, you could go on Instagram right now and probably find 5 or 10 clips of some weirdo TikTok leftist who's been pulled by a right-wing account and posted saying that, white men are the problem. Remember there was that girl there was one girl who went viral a couple months ago, maybe a year ago now, who was like bashing her own father because her dad was white or something. It's all completely crazy. They're talking about how, old white men are the problem. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is the solution. Gavin Newsom is the solution. You just told us several times over that old white people are the problem. So how are these guys not part of that problem? And another thing that I really have a problem with is the idea that Trump voters were racist, right? Okay, remember we were told that. I mean, the MAGA hat was a new Klan hood. All, that's racist. And then Joe Biden wins. So are we to believe that all of those people who voted for Trump one time just magically had a change of heart and they're no longer a racist and now we like Joe Biden? I mean, how does any of this ever add up? That's why I think
the same argument about the Obama winning.
That's why I think it's
Obama
fake.
winning twice. Obama wins twice, then you vote for Trump and you're racist all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Let's promote ourselves a little bit here. uopod.com is where you'll find this page with all our sparkling links. And if you're listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, on which I can read off this page, and you're listening to audio, please give us a review. Please like us and subscribe to us on there so you get an alert when this podcast comes out and when the bonus podcast comes out. And if you're watching on Getter, Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter, please subscribe to our YouTube by going to unauthorizedopinions.com or just search us. If you're on Getter, we thank you for watching, but we could use some more YouTube subscribers because you can't monetize on Getter. I don't know what's going on over there. They've limited our reach. I'm going to start a conspiracy that Getter is limiting us, and then maybe they'll boost us after that. Maybe they'll fix the numbers for us. But please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We got extra content on there all the time with the shorts, and we're going to be having skits on there. And of course, our streeters are airing on Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is a video I found today from, I think, Caesar, his name, Alberta. I worked with him once, and I think he's going out preaching the Bible. Obviously, neither of us too religion, but this was too hilarious to not show.
Written in the book of life is absolutely essential.
Okay, she doesn't work. Hello. That was great.
What's it? Technical difficulties? What's happening?
Difficulties.com, I guess. I'll try reloading that. So he's going out and he's preaching, and some woman decides to say that this street belongs to the unhoused community. So we don't have any homes, but the street belongs to them. Now, is this something you think you would hear in beautiful New York City or beautiful San Francisco?
San Francisco. Okay, I got a very quick story here about San Francisco. When I was
Uh-oh.
young,
Let's
you
I can
may or
play
may
it
not
first.
know.
The book of life is absolutely essential.
Okay, no, it doesn't want to work. What? Beautiful. Go ahead.
Why is it not working?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So this woman says, first of all, she's using the buzzword of unhoused because somehow that's better than homeless, right? It's kind of like, you can't say colored people, but you can say people of color. None of it makes any sense. But this does remind me of a time when I was young and I was, what we like to call uncommissioned public works of art, right? With spray paint and markers and stuff like that. And I got pinched and I had to do community service. And I remember going to an alleyway in San Francisco with, I don't know, 8 or 9 other guys. Maybe there was 10 of us total. And we're picking up trash and power washing the alleyway when a bum comes around the corner and he says, "This is our street." Like they do take ownership of this stuff. So we're down there by force, basically, right? Forced community service for vandalism, and we're trying to clean up the streets. And this guy comes around and he's angry because he's taking this as 10 people being in his living room in a back alley in San Francisco where we're painting over graffiti, picking up trash, and power washing, feces and needles and stuff down the block into a trash can. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we weren't able to see the video, but these people do 110% take ownership of these blocks and expect you to steer clear of that. Otherwise, they're going to become hostile. And she's going to bat for them, but I can almost guarantee you that if she walks down that very same block, they're not going to be nice to her. They don't care if she went to bat for them.
Well, this is what happens when you tell people that it's their right to squat wherever they want. San Francisco, right? What's the law there? You can't kick somebody off of your lawn, even if they have stuff on it, because they consider that stuff their personal property, and you can't move it. Which makes no sense. If somebody's property is on your property, you can certainly move it. There's no rule. Like I can't park my car on your lawn. You can't be like, "That's my property. You can't move my car." But that sort of stuff is happening in San Francisco.
And remember the guy who
The book of life is absolutely essential.
Do you have a place to preach? Do you have a place to talk about God?
You could be
This
following
is
a
for freedom of
religion.
speech. There's
You
no
could
freedom
be a
anymore.
nice,
This
pleasant
is a
person.
street that belongs
You
to our
could get
unhoused
along
community,
well with your,
and you are
neighbors,
chirping
your family,
in their
your
ear.
coworkers.
We're trying to tell them that they can have a shelter, which
Can
is
you-
in
But if
Jesus
your
Christ.
neighbor written in the book of life,
bruh.
Bruh.
They can be free in Jesus
You
Are
Christ.
you helping them with
can't go
shelter?
to heaven
When you
alone.
dunk them into the North Saskatchewan River and
You
let them
have
go
to
back onto the street,
understand
were you helping them?
that
Yes,
having
I
your
do.
name
I'm
written in the
listening,
book
I'm
of
listening,
life
Stephen.
is not
Tell me
based
where the help
on
was.
the good that
He's,
you've done
he's preaching.
compared to the bad.
He's preaching the gospel of
Having your
salvation.
name written in the
Where
book
else
of
can you
life
get
is
salvation?
based upon whether or not the Lord
It's only
Jesus
death. You
Christ,
see, look around. There's
the
death.
King of Kings and the
Everybody's
Lord of
dying.
Lords.
So obviously the angle here is we will help you with shelter in the church and we will preach to you, obviously. But this woman wearing the rainbow outfit and spinning in circles is not the most sane look, I'm going to say, and saying that this street belongs to the unhoused community. So you don't believe in property, but you don't believe in the idea that they can't squat on other people's property or the city property, but somehow the city property now belongs to them. There's a comment here.
Yeah,
I live in
because-
downtown LA. Drugs all over the place, says Chris Jones.
Yeah, so I don't know if he was able to tune into that earlier portion where we were watching Danny Mullen down in the subway, and also, dude, the Los Angeles Skid Row, I haven't been down there in years, probably maybe getting close to a decade now, but I remember, dude, look, I lived in Oakland, I lived in San Francisco, New York City. I have never felt as genuinely unsafe as walking around in Los Angeles Skid Row. Like I thought we were gonna die multiple times, or maybe not die, but at least get stabbed or something several times in Skid Row in Los Angeles. So it's a complete mess. And this where was this in Toronto? Where was that clip from?
I believe this was in Edmonton, but she said North Saskatchewan River that might go through the north of Alberta. So it's in Midwest Canada.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me also of the guy out in San Francisco who got in trouble for spraying the bum. Do you remember that clip when he sprayed the bum with the
Yeah.
hose? So right, those are the same people who they want you to defund the cops, and then you're gonna pay some minimum wage, recovering junkies to walk around the city, and then if a business owner takes things into his own hands, that's also not not okay. So it's a catch-22. They want you to have nothing. They want you to be completely afraid, and they want control of you, right? So, and I'll also always say that they don't. I think I mentioned this last week, but they don't really care what you do. That's why we see looting and shoplifting and all that stuff, because they're never going to try and stop that. But as soon as you have a wrong think, as soon as you don't agree with one of the talking points, that's going to be a problem. So somehow, some way, we got to this point where it's much more. It's much more punishable. I mean, take it from me when I was arrested for the lockdown, but it's much more punishable to have to not agree with one of their talking points than it is to literally be shoplifting every day to support a drug habit. It's ridiculous.
This guy says he's been using buses and trains in LA for 7 years, and he's finally bought a car. Shout out Chris Jones for buying a car. I don't know who would be willingly going on there. If you want to send us some video of LA's transit
That's a tough
system,
task.
go ahead and
I
send it
think
to us
that's
on Instagram. Report and Opine or Andrew does. We'll post that for you. And you best be subscribed to the YouTube channel. Cock a doodly doodly doo, man. Almost added that in the intro, but I don't think people would just understand that. They just
Yeah,
heard
maybe
the
it's a
audio,
little bit too deep of a cut. But
perhaps.
I also wanted to mention very briefly
Mm-hmm.
that with Joe Biden recently announcing his run for re-election and a couple of Republican candidates out there, Afro Man, of course, has
Mm-hmm.
thrown his hat into the ring. Are you familiar with Afro
I am
Man?
familiar with the Afro Man. Every white person of our age bracket knows the lyrics to Colt 45, Eric. Throw
Yeah,
that out there.
exactly. And my college roommate was from Palmdale, which is where Afro Man is actually
Is
from.
that in
He was
California?
all It's like a suburb of LA. I think it's like maybe
Okay.
40 or so minutes east of LA. I don't even know which direction. Don't quote me on that. Maybe north.
So Colt
Not quite sure.
45, 2 zigzags.
Yes.
Baby, that's all I
Um,
need.
and Tim, his name was Tim. He was a white guy from Palmdale. So you could imagine he knew every single word to every single Afro Man song. And I like the fact that Afro Man has thrown his hat into the ring because
On the Democrat
is
side?
you know what? That's a great question. I haven't even read that far through the
Wow.
article.
Wow. I'll look
I
it up
just
right now on my Motorola phone. Right,
Um,
Motorola, everybody. It still exists.
That's a great question. I saw the headline. I didn't look into it. I just started singing Colt 45 and Palmdale, kind of like you just did there, without looking into the details. But my point is it
Independent.
that crazy? Independent. Okay, there you go. Makes sense, right? Is it any crazier to have a guy who's famous for smoking weed, or even Kanye West, right? Who notoriously, he cried when he was talking about abortion at a campaign rally. He's crazy. He wore a red hat, this, that, and the other. Is any of that crazy? Is it crazier than having an empty suit, clearly corrupt, compromised puppet of China president who's been in politics for
A
longer
bajillion
than
years.
we've both been alive?
Of course it's not. It's not crazier than AOC, who's a bartender and selected through an interview process to run for Congress. It's not crazier than Al Franken, who was a senator until he had that stupid picture of him pretending to squeeze a girl's chest that got him fired. It's no crazier than Arnold Schwarzenegger being a terrible governor of California. It's
Or Ronald Reagan?
Ronald Reagan. There's so many examples. It's not crazier. And maybe I've never heard Afro Man's opinions. If he's if he's been able to manage his money that he got from his I don't know, however long fame it was, then I would trust him financially. Probably. It's no crazier than Ben Savage of Boy Meets World fame running for congressman in California. I had hoped for you, Ben Savage. He was running for city council. He had a good platform with no woke shit, and then he's running for congressman now, and it's all just everything. The only thing you can put your hat on is that he wants to refund the police. Everything else, he's just like, this, marginalized, LGBT, which of course you have to do if you're in California. Still disappointing, Ben. Now I'm a Fred
But I
Savage
don't think
guy.
you do, bro. I honestly, I don't think you do. I think it's just the media has convinced us of all that.
Well, if he's
When
going to
you
be a
actually
Democrat, they probably won't let him in unless he says that.
Yeah, okay, that's probably
Do
true.
you
I guess
want
if he's
money,
running
Ben? Then you must disavow the
But I think
disavowers.
the James Klug video that was recently posted, and I get it, it's anecdotal evidence, but like, who do you expect to be more on the train, on the crazy train, than a whole bunch of people walking around downtown Los Angeles, right? They should all, in theory, it should have been the exact opposite. So you had one like weird guy who couldn't even explain himself saying like, oh, Donald Trump, orange man bad. I'm paraphrasing there. That's basically what he said. He couldn't explain why, which is fine. You don't have to know everything, but you would think it would be about 8 people saying yes, orange man bad, and 2 people saying, okay, I'm open to something else. But it was the exact opposite. And we're not talking about a lot of people. The video was maybe 15 minutes long and they talked to, I don't know, 10 or 12 people. So it's not a huge sample size, but in Los Angeles, I think that is a step in the right direction. And basically, my point is when you break it down and you remove the corporate media from the equation and you remove the entire groupthink of everybody being scared, and you talk to one person or even a group of 2 or 3 young people, 20 somethings, they can see right through it. And that's part of the problem. That's why we're so heavy on censorship, is because a lot of these, I'm still torn. Maybe you have an opinion on this. Some people say Gen Z is more conservative than the millennial generation. Some people say they're even more woke and more radical and more LGBTs. All these surveys are coming out. So I don't know exactly where that falls, but I think when you are actually able to just talk to somebody, and I did this when I was driving around the country, no camera, no phone, no nothing. You talk to regular people, they can all see through it. But when you get them together and the media machine is behind it, it makes you think that you're on the outside when you're not. And that's our problem.
I think Gen Z is extremely divided, and I think it's vast majority woke, but not along party lines. I think the most desperate things that they desperately think they need to correct, they think are nonpartisan issues. Transgender rights, climate change. They couldn't do it with the climate or the gays. They had to do it with all of it. That's what I think. I think they think these rights are down the middle and everybody should care about them, and they can't understand it. We've seen it in a few comments on the channel. Why would you have a problem with people just getting their rights? Why would you have a problem with a man just wanting to be a woman? It's like truth doesn't matter, feelings matter the most, and that's why 20% of them identify as trans, because nobody has the cojones to tell them, bro, you're a boy, not a girl. And then I'll tell you a quick story before we go here. Went to Medieval Times, I believe it was, months ago, and girlfriend really had to use the bathroom. We stopped downtown Toronto at a Pizza, which is a pizza chain here, Eric. And she's waiting in line for the bathroom behind 2 high school kids. She says 14, 15, 16, that range. And they are conversing, Eric, about whether or not one of them should do things with a transgender girl. And basically it came across they were so desperate they were considering those things with the transgender girl. They said, one of them said, yeah, she's trans, but she's willing to do more stuff. And my girlfriend said she was thinking, I should have just told these guys, no, just wait. It's not that bad that you have to go down that road. But she really had to go to the bathroom and they let her go in front of her. So clearly, nice boys, desperate and sad to be at this point where they think it's normal. Oh, I can't get a girl, so I might as well get a guy pretending to be a girl. That's like prison stuff.
Well, that's incredibly dark, and dare I say, that's what they want. That is what they want. They want you to settle for that. They want to normalize that. It's dark times, folks.
UOPod.com, unauthorizedopinions.com. Like, share, and subscribe. Tuesday, a new hot vid's coming from Eric and Andrew on the streets. Goodbye.
Some fat, dog.
Pump that.
Be kind of funny, but nah.
Yeah, dude.
Copper over here behind us.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, support me on Patreon because it's all going straight to Fent from now on. Let's do it, dude.
Danny, why are you going in there, dog?
You, dude.
You want to go somewhere? Hey, where are we gonna go?
Dude.
Where are you gonna go? No, get out. No, get out. No. How are you, dog? Cheers, bro.
I respect you, dude. Hey, we're it's all good, brother. We're homies. We're homies, dude. It's good, man.
You live on my discretion.
Turn it up, Jordan.